4.6, we're going to use something today, and we're continuing our triangle congruence thought process. And we're going to use something called Cpctc. That is really, you don't want to say that all out. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. You don't want to say that all the time. So we shorthand it to Cpctc. One of my classes from like 4 or 5 years ago is my girl class, and they just thought it was, they made up something, and so they always called it cupcake. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. We're going to write down Cpctc, but that was the joke in class. Anytime they said we used cupcake to verify it, I knew what they were talking about. So it's kind of cute. So if you have another idea, we can use that in our class. Now, once you've proven triangles are congruent, then you can use Cpctc to show other parts of the triangle are congruent. Okay? So it's not necessary that you try and prove using that part that they're asking you to find, and prove using that part that the triangle is actually congruent. There are other ways around it. And if you can't use that part, and I'll try and show you in example 1 what I'm talking about, it's okay. There might be other parts of the triangle that might be able to use side, 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 or side, angle, side, or angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side, or hypotenuse, leg to prove that the triangles are congruent. That's how you prove that triangles are congruent. You are not using Cpctc to show congruent triangles. Those 5 choices that I just said, side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse, leg, that's how you prove the triangle's congruent. Once the triangles are congruent, then if there's another part that you need to use to show, yeah, it's congruent in the other triangle, then you use Cpctc, or cupcake, as my girls called it a couple years ago. So you're going to prove other corresponding parts are congruent using that instead. Let me illustrate this to you, okay? This is an engineering application, and this is what it says. To design a bridge across a canyon, you need to find the distance from A to B. Locate points C, D, and E as shown in the figures. If DE equals 600 feet, what is AB? Well, the first thing you've got to do, it would be really simple to go, oh, I see what's going on here. I can go ahead and slap the answer up there. But the answer, you have to prove that the triangles are congruent. There's no other way around it, okay? So you can start off and go, well, angle D is congruent to angle B because both are right angles. Okay, so we can definitely prove that. We know that segment DC is congruent to segment CB because the length of DC equals the length of CB, which equals 500 feet. So we can prove that. We also know that angle DCE is congruent to angle BCA because of vertical angles theorem. Okay, so in essence what we've done, if you look at it and kind of mark it up a little bit, let's do some arcs here. What do you see here? Angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle. Okay? And so triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ABC, so EDC, I guess, is congruent to EDC because of angle, side, angle. Okay, so that's your first part. You have to show that the triangles are congruent. And if you can't do that, then you certainly can't say that any of the parts are congruent, or that you can't line them up. You can't make that assumption, okay? So they want us to find the length of AB. This is the question right here, is how long is AB? Well, now that we know that the triangles are congruent, we can actually do something here. So what we can say is segment DE, because we had information given to us about DE. DE is congruent to AB because of, and this is where you insert CPT, let's do it right, Cpctc, okay, cupcake, because of cupcake. They just made up a word because it's hard to say those letters really fast, I should say. All right, so this is where you insert cupcake, Cpctc, is you're showing, well, the triangles are already congruent, so other parts of the triangle are also congruent. And so this is what we're showing, is that these must be congruent. And so since DE is congruent to AB, DE equals 600 feet, so AB equals 600 feet. Okay, so are you following kind of my thought pattern on how this has to go down? You don't assume that the triangles are congruent. They never said that the triangles are congruent. So your first step is to prove that the triangles are congruent, then use cupcake to show other parts or other corresponding parts are congruent, and then you can answer your question. They want to know, how long is AB? Well, AB is 600 feet because it corresponds with DE, which is 600 feet. Okay? So I know that's a little tricky, but I think with a little practice, I think you're going to do great with it. Okay? So you can use cupcake after you have justified, after you've proven that two triangles are congruent. All right? Bring your questions to class if you have any.